You say over air conditioning like it's a disease, like some kind of some kind of symptom or
Well,
a
so
virus.
when I lived in Dubai, so the average temperature is like 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. That's like 100 to 115 Fahrenheit. And everything was over air conditioned. So, and you walked a lot of places. And so you'd have to always bring like a sweater or a shawl everywhere you went because everything was over air conditioned. So you would walk there. And now, mind you, when I was there, which has changed a little bit recently too, like you couldn't show your shoulders or your knees as women. So I would have to always wear shawls. So everything was over air conditioned. So it was a term that I used a lot when I was there. Because you'd be freezing. It's 45 degrees outside, and then you go into a building and you're freezing. So they just over air conditioned everything.
I still get that here when you go in a grocery store sometimes. If you go into the
Yeah, you go.
grocery stores are bloody
Yeah,
cold.
yeah, you go into the cold section.
Yeah, when you go to get your produce in a grocery store, you just die.
Yeah, and it
Everything's
shouldn't be that way.
well, there you
Well,
go.
grocery stores is different, but I mean, over air conditioning buildings in when it's like 30 degrees Celsius out is just it's weird.
But I love it when I sleep and it's really cold and you get all cocooned, like wrapped up in blanket. Like, so
Yeah.
welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxon. With me, as always, is Achy Achilles athlete Bethany McChesney. Anyway, so we were away this weekend at RX1, and originally we were going to camp out, and then because it was going to like supposed to rain all weekend and be yucky up there, so we decided we upgraded to a trailer, like a glamping kind of trailer. And I got like the small bed. It was just me and John, and I got the small bed, the kids' bed, but it was really comfy. The mattress was good, everything was good, but it was like a coffin. So, but you sleep really good in it because it's that cold. You get all curled up in blanket, and it's great. And when you get there is no colder air conditioning than like trailer air conditioning because it goes so fast. It goes
Hmm.
roasting hot to freezing cold in no time. It's
Hmm.
great. It's great. Um, yeah, so we'll start with RX1 because so you didn't make it, you backed out. Millions were disappointed.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it's such a tough decision to make. And like it kind of came down to the wire with the decision that I made though to not participate. Like I've said before, I love RX1. Like the race format, as far as I'm concerned, is one of my favorite for functional races. But I've dealt with Achilles issues for a long time now, and the last race just kind of flared everything up. And so just kind of keeping the A races in mind, I decided to take a step back on this one. Um, yeah, so made the call just a few days before we were supposed to leave. My heart was still set on going. And if you'd asked me, a week before, I was still going, but then I was like, oh, it just things were not really healing as fast as I had hoped. So yeah, we decided not to go. So
Yeah, I imagine there was some that were probably disappointed they were looking for a good race out of you, and then
mhm.
some that were maybe happy that you weren't there.
Yeah, yeah, I did get some messages from people, and I mean, it's you kind of you want to race the people who are racing at their best ultimately. And we've talked about this before. Like you don't want to have spots on podiums because people weren't there or the field wasn't that deep and it's a lot more fun to be in a really good race. And I was really looking forward to that too with this last one. But yeah, I just unfortunately it just didn't make sense for me this time. And when you're adding in 16 hours of driving for us to do a race because I think too if the race had been within like a short drive, I might have done it anyways and maybe just kind of been a little more careful on the things that flared up my issue. But when you're talking about driving 8 hours one way, race 8 hours back, and then to maybe have a race where if things didn't go your way, you might have to step off. It just didn't make sense. So yeah, a really good race though would have been a lot of fun because I mean this season has been kind of cool with um like kind of the battles that we've had in the RX1 series and the expert women. So yeah, it would have been fun, but
And I think it would have
It
been
is
a
what
good
it
one.
is.
Would have been a good one for you, despite the fact that it wasn't a ton of running, but it was 4K and it was for fast K. Like it was
Flat.
kind of, yeah, flat and a little bit on the road, but mostly through kind of like very smooth trail,
Mm.
and not like single track, like double wide smooth trail. Like,
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah, you really could have opened up on it. Would it have
Mm.
been wise to really open up on it? I don't know, because the rest was kind of tiring. I'm really sore, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm felt a little beat up, and wasn't as long effort. I was like 40, 48 minutes, I think.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but
That's a
just
lot shorter than the last one.
yeah, but just a little beat up the traps. And today, like I went to do my workout today, and it was just like, nope, not doing what was planned today. Just gonna
Hmm.
take it easy, and still went through it, but not at the effort level that was planned. But yeah, but it was good. A lot of fun. Personally, for me, I told you this. I think it was like my best performance at an RX1 race, despite the fact I didn't finish on the podium.
Hmm.
Um, it was really good. I managed to finally get past a few guys that were really kind of benchmarks for me to get past, especially Benoit, who generally, we talked about him before here. Generally, like Benoit's a great guy, super good guy, great athlete. And generally, what happens is I come into the last movement with a slight lead, and then he smashes me with skill.
Yeah.
So this time, maybe it wasn't quite as skilled a finish, and I managed to keep the lead. I actually extended a little bit, so that was good. It was great, but he put in a good races always, and it's always one of my favorite people to race against. Lots of respect for that guy. And but yeah, but my division last year, so last year my division was like really four guys, five guys, and there was kind of three of us that got the podium, and then a couple other guys who managed to finish the course. This year, it's just nuts. Like it's crazy hard,
Mhm.
and it just keeps getting
And you're
faster
so
and
you're
faster.
talking about the expert men.
Yeah,
The
expert
expert men.
men. Yeah, and I'm like over 45, right? So
Mhm.
we got a couple of new guys in. One guy dropped down from pro into it, and it's just like it's fast. It was
Mm.
really fast, but it was good. Some good stuff for me. Everything worked well. And the nice thing for me, I think the biggest thing on this one was, as a general rule, I am crashing at the end. This one, I had energy to spare and was crossing the line, you know, with urgency,
Mhm.
despite the fact I don't think I really needed to, but I did anyway. So it was good. It was great.
Yeah.
Little bit of rough weather, but it held off good. It was just kind of drizzly. Temperature wise was great. Kept us from overheating. A little bit
Mhm.
drizzly. The wall walks, they were okay for me. They were fine, but a lot of people were really finding those wall walks rough. And I do have, I can feel it in the traps today.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, between the wall box walks and the heavy thrusters were heavy, or not thrusters, devil presses. Devil
Mhm.
presses were heavy. I made a lot of ground on devil presses. A lot of guys seemed to struggle because for us it was 45 pounds in each hand,
Yeah.
and that's a good amount of weight.
Mhm.
It was one of those races that I think played to me. The one part though, so there was after the two runs, there was a sled pull, and I thought, okay, here's sled pull. I'll make up some ground here. This will be my thing. Did it in the practice area. It was nothing, no problem. I got a bad sled, like a bad lane.
Oh, and it was on grass, so
It
there could
was
be divots and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And so right off the bat, could barely get it to move. It was harder than a high rock sled, and I've pulled the high rock sled. This was harder. Got it going, moving slowly, and then got to the middle, and then it just got stuck again. So it should have got easier as I went along because the rope gets shorter and it gets easier to pull. But it got in the middle and got stuck and was at its worst through the whole thing. So then I finally got it going again, and I was just like, oh my God. So instead of making more ground up there, I actually lost ground and then had to
Mm.
make it up on the complex at the end. But I was like, holy crap. I just thought, maybe it was just me. Who knows what it was. And then I went back later and saw a pro in the same lane, and he had the exact same problem. And just
Mhm.
same thing, like he was getting passed by a ton of people. He got to the middle and got stuck, and just like, oh, like, what are you gonna do?
Mhm.
So it is what it is. And moved on. Chest to bars went good. I just did one at a time, just single. Didn't need just single 2 second break, single 2 second break, because I can't link them together. So why hang on the bar and waste energy, right?
Yeah.
Drop off
Mhm.
and do that. And then the barbell work went good, unbroken on all of it. the 6 5 4 3 2 1 ladder. Didn't have to stop for anything. So right from the deads to the cleans to the squats, no stopping, boom, 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 all the way through. So it was good. And then yeah,
Mhm.
it was great. I mean, so that is the end of the Gatineau, Ottawa region thing, and then we're into the finals in August for
Mhm.
us. So that'll be fun. At the end of the year too, I think we're gonna have to do an episode like where we do with High Rocks and we're do a deck where we say these are things that probably should change. These are things that
Yeah.
are good. And we're getting so many people that want to go try RX1 from the States
Yeah. Yeah.
that it's kind of on the verge of actually blowing up a bit if if some of these people get out there and give it a
Mhm.
shot. So, but they need to straighten some things away because with
Yeah.
that will come much more scrutiny and people who will be less inclined to give them the benefit of doubt on a lot of stuff. So they got to clean up some things. Um,
Yeah.
but it is
Yeah.
worth it.
And I mean, we can save that all for another episode, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, we've said it before. It's definitely one of our favorite races. It's tough to miss. But yeah, and this one too was a little bit on the heavier side
mhm.
also, which, and then not too much running, but actually the most amount of running yet that we've had this season. So yeah, you do very much have to be a versatile athlete to be able to do RX1. And the way the races are designed, it's a lot of like the cardio at the beginning, low skill based stuff, but still strength based, and then it kind of converges into like high skill based movements at the very end. So you kind of hit the whole gamut of capabilities as a hybrid athlete. So
It is kind of my one of my favorite styles of workouts.
mhm.
Like if you're looking for like that kind of Saturday hard hit workout, and you can set
Yeah,
something up because you can just set up anything like it in your gym. Oh, switch this, do some running, do some rowing. Here's some weights, here's some lifts, here's some carries, whatever. Just
yeah.
set it all up and away you go.
And so RX1, I think they're on like their 11th year, and they've said too they've never done the same workout twice, which is
Yeah.
also very cool as an athlete because everything, you can kind of like with High Rocks and Deca, you're always working on performing better and you have a time-based standards, but then with RX1, I mean, you definitely never get bored as far as a training perspective. And then every race, you race the race, which is also kind of fun because I mean, you could not wear a watch, which is also very freeing.
Mhm.
You just race the race. Yeah, so it's a different style of racing, and I think sometimes our world just needs a little bit more of that, where you just kind of have fun and start and you finish, and everything else in between is just doing the best.
Yeah, for sure. Something we did miss this weekend though that we didn't get to take part in, and we kind of knew this we knew ahead of time. But with Tremblant for Spartan Canada happened, and looked like it was a great race. Looked like they had a way better weekend
Mm-hmm.
than last year because last year was frigid and nasty and yucky and horrible. It looked like they at least got some sunshine this weekend and did a little bit better. Um, some things to keep take away. Jesse Bruce back out there, Samuel Lee Bear back out there. Um, you know, I didn't get a chance because again, there wasn't much in the way of coverage for these still, which is still kind of lacking. And I know without a series,
No.
it seems hard to do. But considering there's not, I wish they would just put together just like, and I mean this sound, but Spartan Canada just say to hell with you, headquarters. Not really, but just say we are just going to make it our own little Canadian series. There's no money, there's no that. We're just going to keep tabulate points and maybe do
Yeah.
a little podium at the end and get somebody out there to do some kind of coverage. And you know what? It could be someone like us, like the one what we did in Red Deer and what we did in Blue Mountain that year. It it
Mhm.
can be that simple. It's just something because then people can see
Yeah.
it, people can keep track, people can, you know, focus and root for people and be involved. I think right now that's the one thing missing because the open side, the mass participation side of Spartan Canada is doing fantastic right now.
Yeah.
They're doing really well, but the elite side is really kind of suffering a little bit as it is seemingly around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would maybe help a bit. And again, those elite medals I keep pushing for, I'm telling you, it would
Hmm.
work.
Hmm. Yeah, this I mean, there it still looked to be a little bit cold. Like I saw a lot of
Yes.
people wearing winter jackets and stuff. But yeah, last year it actually snowed when we raced Tremblant, and it was very, very cold. This So this year looks a little bit better. But yeah, this the Beast course in Tremblant is honestly one of the hardest Beast courses that I've ever done. And from what I heard, I didn't go this year again, obviously because my plan was never to do Tremblant but RX1. But still, like the winners for women at least were still over 4 hours, and that's a really long beast course. And this one too, they said it was very similar to last year, where there's a ton of bushwhacking and extremely technical ups and downs where they're not really sending you on trails, just kind of like sending you through the bush, which makes for a long course. And Trumbull is not a small mountain by any means, and then add in some weather factors. So it's not an easy beast. And yeah, so for winners to be over 4 hours and I didn't look at the exact distance, but I mean, last year it was 24K for the beast. That's a really long race. And this was a trifecta weekend too. So yeah, a lot of people came back and then they raced the super the second day. And then the sprint has all been open when they've had trifecta weekend. So no real podiums then for the sprint races on that second day.
It was a lot of trifecta chasers out there though. It's still very popular to do that, to get out there and chase a trifecta, and it's kind of cool. It is like, I get that, and those medals get really big when you're getting 13 and 14, and
Yeah.
that's when that whole, go back to that, like the seasons pass, and that, oh my God, I don't remember what it called, the ultimate pass or whatever, the
Yeah.
get buried
Mhm.
in Sparta pass, when
Yeah.
when that one actually really really actually pays off when you're doing that many things. But I can't imagine the travel those people are putting in. Like, we went cheap this weekend and it was still expensive, and I couldn't imagine going out to Tremblant and staying out there and then doing that like 14 times, 20 times in a year. Man,
Yeah.
people got a lot of money.
I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all their extra. I don't know.
Yeah, it does add up quick. So hopefully we can maybe get some more Spartan content out. They can maybe get a little more coverage. It would be nice. Don't make Fidel do it all on his own.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, so Deca stuff, something I wanted to talk about actually with Deca. Um, so I've been putting together a list, and I'm going to make a post of top 10 Canadian times on Canadian soil, essentially. So top 10 Canadian times, I would go down south and get the ones from the Canadians who have performed down south, but it's just way too hard for me to track down. So maybe we'll get into that one time. So right now I'm sticking with Canadian times on Canadian soil. And I haven't got the post together yet because I'm still waiting for some pictures from some people to put it together. But what did happen this weekend out in Calgary was the men's. We had a new fastest Canadian man for a strong on Canadian soil. So Matthew McLean did a 12:20 dead, and put that down, just bumping off Pat, who had a 12:22.
Wow.
So I would love to see both these guys still up it just a little bit more, and again, as Ash as well, Ash Squire, and hope maybe possibly those three could possibly get in the top 20, which would be so cool.
Hmm.
Um, Ash might still be a little off, a little further off yet, but Pat and Matthew pretty close, man. Like 12:20 is not bad. That's getting up there. That's close. And there's also, we might have Becca King for the women, who has done a 13:10 now for Deca Strong.
Wow. Good for her.
So she might be, and I do know all of these people are planning to go to World. So maybe Becca might be in the top 20 for have our first Canadian women in the elite Deca final somewhere, which would be very cool. Other than relays, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. We got that thing down.
Yeah. We love our relays.
Love the relays. Love the relays. Looking forward to Zach and Bubbles doing really well in the relay this year. That's hope, and maybe some other ones. So yeah, that was it for Deca News. And then, did you get to see any of the Savage coverage this weekend?
I mean, I watched a lot of just Instagram post highlights. The women's race seemed to be a lot of back and forth, and it kind of came down to that last rig, which caused a major turnover in that podium.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, Alex had ran out and ran a hell of a race, and
Hmm.
then just got shut down.
Yeah. And I mean, this is the interesting thing with Savage, and this is one of those things when you have races that are mandatory completion, and then with Spartan, where you kind of do your penalties and then move on. Like, if it had been a situation where it was not mandatory completion, Alex could have won or been on that podium. I don't know her gap, but she came into the final rig ahead, and
Mhm.
then and they of course before the final rig, there's and you're soaking wet and then you come into the final rig. And with Savage, it's always a unique rig, so it's not like you've had time to practice it like all of the Spartan rigs. And yeah, failed it multiple times, and Chris Roglowski took it over. Also failed it once,
Yep.
but got it on her second or third try. And then yeah, and then Casey Monroe and Jamie Horianopoulos
Yeah.
Florianopolis came in and took over the third place on the podium, and then Alex came in fourth. So Savage just seems to so often come down to that last rig and how well you can kind of navigate a new situation with the last rig. So really unique race again for the women's side.
Sometimes when Savage has that last rig, especially when the women come around, I'm like, oh my God, this is a train wreck. And it can be really bad. But this
Mhm.
time, I think the rig design was kind of on point. I think the difficulty was right where it needed to be. Um, and I don't think it was chaos. I just think, it caused a slip up. And it wasn't easy. It was not an easy rig, and that's cool.
Yeah.
That's great. But it wasn't ludicrous either, as in proof that many of the women got through it, and some first try. So I thought that was okay. The other thing though, did you see right after it with the sling ring again with the tire on the post?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Well, Alex threw it and then stepped over too close, and it shouldn't have counted. They mentioned it on the live stream, like, oh, she left it, and I don't know if there was no one there watching as far as a judge or whatnot, or no one told her that that didn't count. But off she went to cross the line, and
Yeah.
yeah. So that's again, I'm not liking that obstacle to begin with, and that it's
Mhm.
caused some issues over and over again so far. That's maybe next year, maybe Savage will ditch that one. Hopefully won't have it at the some of the finals. Maybe bring Wheel World back. That would be really nice instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it wasn't great to see. Didn't like that. Um Other than that, it was pretty good. Ryan Kempson, great race. Put in a good race. With the women though, Chris has now like put a stranglehold on the series, right? Like
Mhm.
she's won everyone she's been a stranglehold. And this goes back to, I think, the point system is not horrible
Mhm.
for Savage, but it does put it in a situation now like this where if anyone wants to catch Chris, many people have to fit between them. So it's not only like you could blow her doors off, so you came first place in the next race and blew her doors off by 10 minutes. But if no one comes in between you, you
Yeah.
just gain 1 point. And this goes
Mhm.
back to why I think that percentage of winner thing that Jack Bauer is always pushing is such a great idea, because if that were the case, other people could still make up ground on her here and actually make it a race to the finish. Whereas now it's pretty much home and cooled. She just needs to show up,
Yeah.
show up and put in a reasonable effort. So
Mhm.
I would love for them to consider that next time and go through that. And again, Jack with the percentage of winner, always, always a good one. It'd be great. Um, was actually a couple of DECA things we didn't mention. Um, this coming weekend is DECA North Carolina, DECA Fit North Carolina, which I will be at running with Tara, hoping to put in, um, hoping to shoot for a podium and maybe get a qualifying spot there.
Mhm.
And it should be really good. Tara's going to be running the individual as well. So if you're looking, there'll be a live stream, I believe, on OCR Report. I believe I'll be a part of that. And you can check that out. It should be some good racing. I'm not sure who else is going out to that one. I haven't got a list of entries yet, so we'll see who's there. And then you have coming up soon your Deca Mile.
Yep, so we're 5 weeks out now from my Decamile. Again, another solid course in Canada. It is set up to again to be a very fast course. The run portion is just out and back through a big open door out into a parking lot. So if you want to put in a fast Decamile time, that's July 22nd. It's in London, Ontario at Boss Fitness. Yeah, we're gonna have two lanes going. We have the day is designed in a way where we have individual races and then an hour of teams, juniors in the middle, and then same thing, individual races and then an hour of teams. So if you want to come and do your individual race, put a team together, and then have your kids run in the afternoon. Then from I think it's 11 to 12 or 12 to 1. I don't remember off the top of my head. And then same thing happens in the afternoon. Yeah, so it's a really cool facility. So if you want to come out and get in a really fast decamile time, this would be the time to do it.
And there's this is the thing, you don't know how many chances we have left before Worlds because they'll click
Mhm.
off fast, especially for the mile. The mile does not happen near as much, right? And
Mhm. Yeah,
with quick courses.
yeah,
So yeah, take your shot if you can. And don't forget like the relay thing, freaking awesome.
yeah.
And we will be attempting to better our score for the relay.
Yes, we will.
We need to bump. We're in fourth still sitting in fourth.
Mhm.
Need to bump up though, because there is a big gap to that first. But I want us on that podium for Worlds. We're gonna.
Mhm.
It's.
Yeah,
Do you think? I don't know. I haven't asked the answer yet. Do we get batons for that one? I think we should get batons for winning that one. I don't know.
yeah.
I
I
don't know.
think so.
I think
That's
it's
the
only
least.
appropriate. I think it's
Yeah.
appropriate. I've got some Rams. I need a baton.
Yeah.
You have a couple. I need one.
Mhm.
So, so yeah, that'll be good. We'll be putting out lots of posts and lots of information about that. So make sure you get signed up before spots run out and put in a good qualifying time for Worlds because
Yeah.
Worlds is going to be great. We're going to have an awesome Canadian contingent going down this year,
Yeah.
and it'll be, I am looking forward to Dallas. Never been, so it's going to be a good time. Um, Other than that, you got anything else, or we get to our interview now?
No, that's what all I have for today.
All right. So coming up, we have an interview with a race director from down in Florida. The race is Native X. I've been following these guys for a long time, paying attention because I think they have put together like the race of my dreams or close to it. You have some short distance running, you have some strength, hybrid functional moves, nothing too high skill based, and then you have some decent obstacles put in with it as well. So this is like right up my alley as if I was going to design a race, this is the kind of deal I'd be doing. And they've been doing it down there for a while. I'm actually hoping next January to get down for one of their races down there. I know people would say that's a long way to go for an independent race, but I don't give a crap. It looks really cool. So, without further ado, Native X. Yeah, you know what? Let's just jump in. I'll work out intros and stuff later on, and
Sure.
we'll just start out with what your name is and where you're from. And yeah, I stole that from obstacle running adventures. So kudos, Mike.
That's funny. No, so yeah, my name's Chris, Chris Harris. I'm down in basically West Palm Beach, Florida. And yeah, I'm the race director for the Native X obstacle race. I've been doing obstacle racing really, I guess, since probably 2014. First one was a Warrior Dash, and yeah, the first time I did one, I got hooked into it. The early days of obstacle racing, I think I loved the most, especially like, when you think of uh, the Battle Frogs, I actually like TMX, some of the harder Spartan races. Yeah, that's kind of what got me into it from the beginning, and that's kind of how we ended up, eventually having our own race like we do now. So
See, if Bethany was here, I wouldn't be allowed to talk about TMX because I do it all the time. Because I
oh,
freaking loved that thing. I went all the way down to Florida. So we're in Toronto. I went all the way down to Florida to do it. I
oh,
did,
cool.
did in Miami. Loved it. It was probably right up there with the coolest race I've ever done. And that's kind of what. And a lot of people be asking why am like we run a podcast out of Canada, why we're talking about a race in Florida. Well,
Yeah,
simply stated, I've been watching you guys from afar for quite some time now. I have some friends, my buddy Tony Wade, who has been down and done your race and has given rave reviews. He's just said it was great stuff. And I'm hoping that races like yours expand. So we love the hybrid racing. We love the
yeah,
obstacle racing. And you guys are like TMX. You're the combination of those two.
yeah,
But you seem to have done something that even TMX couldn't pull off, where you've
yeah,
made it viable for, let's just call it mass participation. So
yeah.
how does your race, how's your setup work like that? Because their setup did not work that way.
So our goal was to, you know, basically challenge everybody's ability to run, climb, and lift. But without getting, in my opinion, too skill specific. It's been kind of a trial and error process. I think a couple of our early on races, we might have made some of the rigs too hard, and that was probably my obsession with Battle Frog.
Yeah.
Battle Frog always had some great rigs, and actually Savage has some really cool rigs right now too. But yeah, it was a little bit of a process of elimination, but our goal has been to to allow everybody to do it. We want the elites to be challenged, but also still fun to where, you know, the average athlete, weekend warrior can still complete it. One of the ways that we've kind of done that is, you know, making the front half of the rig a little bit simpler, and then the back half of it a little bit more challenging. So that kind of, by just design, kind of allows the weekend warrior to get through a good portion of it, but makes them feel accomplished. But then the elite people still struggle a little bit to get through the final thing. And then as far as the fitness exercises, the functional fitness stuff, we try to stay away from you know, like gymnastic exercises or Olympic lifting type exercises. Nothing that's too skill specific. We have the deadlift in our upcoming race in August, which, you know, we feel like everybody should be able to lift some weight off the ground. We have some wall balls. Again, things that you do have to work on. You can, but it'll allow you to show off your strength without having to, like I said, be an Olympic lifter, or be a gymnast. So
I'm with you. So for me, and a lot of people have talked to me and asked me, they're like, how do you define the hybrid racing thing as opposed to why is it not CrossFit?
yeah,
And right there is the different. It's the high skilled movements, right?
right.
To me, in a hybrid race, you shouldn't have an overhead squat. You shouldn't have a barbell snatch. You shouldn't have things like that. It should be basic rudimentary output.
100% agree, because we want everybody that trains at, like, I mean, your Globo gym, you know, they train strength there. We want people that go and do CrossFit, but we still want them to be able to compete in a fun race against each other. And I think, like I said, like a sled pull or sled push, everybody can do that. Lifting a weight off the ground, like I said, the deadlift, anybody can do that. Wall balls maybe a little skill specific, but in my opinion, it's really not. So
Pretty low. I mean, if you can squat, you're fine.
yeah, and exactly. And then the farmer carries, the sandbag carries, all that type of stuff. You can show off your strength without having to practice it daily.
Yeah, and I haven't met a CrossFitter yet who doesn't like grabbing a sandbag and throwing it over their shoulder.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They,
100%.
they're all about it
And
too.
that's the thing too. Like I've wanted to, just as an athlete myself, like go to some. I don't do CrossFit, right? So I don't. I do like to lift and I do like to run, but I don't like doing any of the Olympic lifts. I don't like being inverted. I don't like doing handstand push-ups. So there's some fitness competitions that I'd like to go and participate in. But every time I look at the programming for it, it's like, well, no, I can't snatch overhead. I'm not going to do that. So it kind of keeps me out of it. And then with the hybrid racing, the Decas and the High Rocks, I love those events. But the kind of like maybe like a 5K to me, where at some point you might get a little bit bored because it's the same thing over and over again. But it's also really cool because you get to measure your performance over time and try to hit PRs and stuff, which I love. So it's a really cool event. But the fun of the obstacle racing, like, is what's missing to me in those type of events. And, that's kind of what we bring into ours. So I think we have kind of like a cool little niche that we get to fill. Yeah, and I think just the growth of Spartan Decas and High Rocks will hopefully help races like ours too. So
I think that, so let's put it this way. If High Rocks was the only hybrid race out there, was the only thing you could do, it would become stale and become boring, like you say, like the 5Ks and all that
yeah,
stuff. But because there is High Rocks, because there is Deca, because there's people like yourself running Native X, because there's, like, we have RX1 up here, those ones allow High Rocks or Deca to exist because people like me who like to do it all, we don't get bored of that one thing because we're doing a bunch of them,
yes,
right?
100%.
So if they were the only option, yeah, I think they get bored. And that's why, again, I like you guys and where you fit into the mix,
Yeah,
because you're giving people down there anyway something else to do to keep everything fresh. And it's one of those rising tide floats all boats.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. I totally agree. Like I said, I still enjoy doing those types of events too. I actually haven't gotten to run my own race yet, so that drives me nuts because it's literally like all the stuff I like to do. But yeah, I do enjoy the High Rocks. I do enjoy the Decas. I try to go and do a couple of those events. But I would love to at some point, see some more races, even like ours, that maybe have like a slight variation to them, that I could go and race in also. So
So like lay out your race because I know you have it posted on Instagram. You have your upcoming race, or at least or one of the past ones, or but you've got it laid out where you have two different kind of distances. And
yeah,
yeah,
this is actually the first time that we're going to do this. So after, again, like I said, we try to listen to feedback from the participants in the race to kind of guide what we're going to do going forward. And one of the things that we did see is that we had some of like the bigger athletes, the stronger athletes that would like something with even heavier weights, and maybe a little bit less running. And I'd like that too. I think that that's kind of cool. We're still at the point where you have some of the top finishers in our race being, the guy who wins it all the time is Alvaro Vasquez. He's like an
yeah,
awesome athlete, but
don't
he's
know Albro.
oh yeah, he's awesome. The whole Fit Zone crew is really cool. They've supported our race from the beginning, so shout out to them. But we'd also like to have a race that, the guy who's not just 150 pounds and can run 5-minute miles, but maybe somebody that's in a slightly heavier category that can run maybe 6-minute miles and can lift 225 pounds on their deadlift for multiple reps. We'd like to have We've had feedback where people would like an event like that too, to see if that person would have a chance to win. Though it would be really pretty impressive to see a guy like Alvaro do win them both. I gotta admit that would be a pretty cool thing to see. But I think it would be challenging at his body weight to lift these heavier weights. So we might bring in some of those athletes that are the 6-foot guys, 6'2" guys that are a little bit heavier, closer to 200 pounds, that can run fast and lift heavy. So this is the first time we're doing that. That's going to be a 2.5K race. So we're going to run that one first, and then we'll go to our 5K race, which we've had over the last 2 events. And that 5K race will be, a little bit obviously more distance, and then the weights will be a little bit lighter. So that's also going to be our open wave, will be the 5K format. So all the people in the open wave will be taking a little bit less off the weights.
Yeah, I guess 225 is a bit of a hard deadlift for some of the open waivers. Personally, for
Yeah.
me, again, I'm a 5'7", 180 guy. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I'm all
Yeah.
into that one. That works for me. I mean, I'm actually pretty much what you described. The 6-minute mile, a little bit heavier weights.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think there's a need for an event like that. So we'll see how the 2.5K goes. I'm excited to see what it does. But both formats, the 2.5K race and the 5K race, are going to be set up. We set up all of our obstacles and functional fitness exercises basically in one field. And that's split up into 4 zones. So you have 2 obstacles and 2 exercises in each zone. You do your run, you come knock out zone 1. That's 2 obstacles, 2 exercises. You go run, come back, knock out 2 obstacles, 2 exercises, go run. So you repeat that through all 4 zones. And that's, like I said, challenging your ability to run, climb, and lift. So we've really enjoyed it. It's also allowed us to be super spectator friendly. So if you're coming to the race, whether you're an elite athlete or an open waiver, you have people cheering you on the whole time. Since everything's in one field, you have that crowd that's just, hyping you up. The DJ's there. You get to listen to all the music. But our runs are still interesting. The one high rocks that I did, I didn't love being inside on the runs. I still like being outside. Maybe that's just from obstacle racing in the past. So I do like that we're still in an outdoor event. So our runs are through, they're off road, they're trail running. It's not road running. So again, that's another thing that makes us a little bit different. But yeah, no, we're excited to see how it plays out this basically in August, so August 26th.
So a couple of things, and again, I see you reference this on your Instagram page. And one of the biggest problems, and I'm gonna completely throw them under the bus, is with High Rocks. Love High Rocks, a great spectacle. They put on this awesome event like that.
Yeah.
It's just got that feel, that vibe to it, but it's freaking expensive.
Oh, yes.
All right, and you guys talk about how you are a little more affordable.
Yeah, no, we definitely are. Actually, they just had the High Rocks down in Miami, which was outside, so that was kind of like super attractive to me. it was they held all the events under basically like a giant tent canopy, and then they did all the running out on the sand, which was pretty cool. But we're also gym owners. We do circuit training style fitness, and trying to sell that price, I think it was $180 starting or something like that to all of my members was just really hard. Just trying to get them to come down to Miami and take on. First off, it's a big event. It's hard, right? I mean, it's 5 miles. It's a lot of it's just it's going to take you an hour and a half probably to do it, most people at least. So trying to convince them to spend almost $200 and travel down to Miami and get their ass kicked was kind of a hard sell for me as like a gym owner, even though I really wanted to go do the event myself. But yeah, it's I'd like obstacle racing to stay affordable when the races were 70, $80. It was something you didn't mind. The majority of people didn't mind doing every weekend, like it wasn't too bad. But when it starts hitting, double that plus traveling expenses, then it kind of it's tough for people.
Well, the hotels are freaking nuts right now. Like,
Hotels, yeah.
oh, you can't get a hotel for like a decent hotel for under 150 American. And
Yeah.
especially if you're near a High Rocks or a Deca fit, like so a main event that happens in the cities,
Yeah, because then you're in an urban area, everything's more expensive, right? It's like a downtown area.
yeah. I like to do one or two of those a year, but most of the time for mine, I end up camping. Like I'm a camp guy. I go out and camp, and that's
Oh,
why, it's much cheaper. I mean, we're headed to North Carolina Deca in a couple of weeks, and
cool.
we're paying $15 a night for a campsite. so
That's
so
that's
yeah, a
perfect.
little bit cheap. But yeah. So what does an event for you guys cost roughly?
So yeah, usually it's right around that $70,
Perfect.
all in to start. So the Elite Wave, obviously, we charge a little bit more, but yeah, the we try to keep that barrier to entry lower. We want people coming out. We want the spectators there. Like we don't even charge for spectators. Like I know some races do, so people just get to come in and make some noise and cheer everybody on, which is pretty cool. So we still have that sort of small town vibe, small family vibe, which is really cool about our races. Like we're really connected with the people that come to the races. We got some good groups that support us throughout South Florida, and we've started to see some people coming in from out of state, which was pretty cool in this last race. So.
And you get a medal, you get a T-shirt, the whole swag deal.
Yep. Yeah. So we get you get your T-shirt, and I'm actually wearing one of them. People always compliment us on the T-shirts because we try to have quality T-shirts. The medals are quality too. We get awards for overall in the elite for masters as well. So yeah, and our swag is pretty cool, I think. So I always thought it was important to have cool swag. I'm not like a medal guy myself, but I always try. I know how much it matters to other people, so we always try to put some effort into this.
So as you've gone along, and I'll reference other hybrid races. So to kind of talk about some of the issues that come up when you go back to TMX. High Rocks has it, Deca has it. With you guys too, and you do change the movements and stuff. How do you guys deal with judging and stuff like that? Because I know, especially it seems mostly in High Rocks lately, and Deca has their issue with reverse lunges. High Rocks seems to really have the issue with the wall balls. How
Yeah.
do you guys get the judging under control? I mean, even
Yeah.
the layout, like it's got to be difficult.
It is a little bit, but each overall it's only 8 movements to really watch, and some of them are. I mean, the farmer's carry, you have to just hold up the weights the whole time. Like there's
Yeah.
not much to judge there. Sandbag carry, there's not much to judge there. This will be our first time with the deadlifts, so monitoring the deadlifts, we're going to have obviously our volunteers who are fitness fanatics that are more anal about form, obviously on those exercises, wall balls and deadlifts. I think will be the ones that we're gonna have to watch the most. But I do think that in general, having the spectators and the way that we set things up makes you more inclined to really make sure you're doing the reps right, because you're going to get called out right away. If it's not by the volunteer that's watching you, then it's by the crowd watching you, or it's on camera, and you don't want to be the person posted on social media saying, "Oh, you didn't squat past parallel on your wall balls," or you didn't lock out on your deadlift. So,
Yeah, I know. I've
oh,
posted some myself before, and I know for a prime example, I am terrified to do bad reps because
yeah,
I've been on the offensive before.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I know a lot of times I don't think people do it on purpose. I think you just, people talk about that workout brain. It's a real thing. Like you're just going as fast as you can, as hard as you can, especially when if you're like an elite participant, then, you're probably even more competitive and juices are flowing and you're taking that thing seriously. So it's easy to kind of lose track of what you're doing.
Yeah,
Run an extra. You see people do extra stuff, right? That just recently happened, right? And I think the high race. So
yeah. Our buddy Tara Jackson is
there, yeah,
part of
that's the
our
one.
team of X's.
Oh,
Yeah, she put in an extra lap there, but oh
yeah,
well, all good.
it happens.
Um, so with your upcoming event, you've got two options. They go through it. Where exactly are you guys located? Because you're in, you said West Palm.
Yeah, and this race is taking place in West Palm. This is a new venue for us actually. So the first couple races were all held in Tequesta, which is like 15, 20 minutes away from where we're at. And that was kind of like an old um, nature preserve type area. This one's going to be at a park that has a bike path on it that is has hills. We're in Florida, but this is actually a giant man-made hill.
Okay.
So people will actually all of the runs of this race are uphill and downhill. So you don't have any races on this or any interval laps on this one that are going to be flat. So it's going to, especially for us Florida people, it's going to be pretty challenging. I'm excited about it, but it's right in West Palm Beach. So
And then you say your obstacles, they're not high level, but you do have a bunch of rigs in there and stuff. So
we do.
um
We do.
what's
So we changed the rigs a little bit,
yeah.
and that's to me that's the fun of it. Is okay. I know there's going to be a rig there, but I don't know exactly what it's going to be. I get the point of like standardization and allowing people to train for things, but in the end, is any Spartan race really standardized? Because every race is a little bit different because no route's ever the same. The conditions are never the same. So with our rigs, they're never going to really probably be the same. And that's just because, I think that's an important part of this type of racing too, is just that mental challenge of seeing something new and like, let's just see what you got, how well you've trained for everything. I get it. If it was like, if we change the weights up on you and suddenly you have to lift 400 pounds and you're expecting to lift 200, but a variation on a monkey bar or American Ninja Warrior type rig, I think is kind of a cool thing to have. So our rigs will be different every time. Sometimes they might end up a little bit more difficult. Sometimes they might be a little bit less difficult, but we'll always try to make it so that, at least a portion of that rig is going to be able to be completed. We know for your average weekend warrior, and then the back half of that rig, hopefully we'll get to the point where it's challenging the elite athletes a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, like I came from the ninja background too, so I love mixing up the rigs and stuff. But so the problem, and that's why I kind of asked about it, was you get into some people, especially like your average gym goer, who's going to say, okay, fine, I can go out there, I can run 2.5K or I can run 5K, I can lift this amount of weight. I don't know that I can do that obstacle, and I might get stuck there. If I get stuck there, what happens to me? So, are you guys a mandatory completion, or you got a band system? What's your system for that kind of deal?
Yeah, so we're a band system for the elite waves. So it's you got to be able to complete it to be eligible for prizes, right? I mean, if you can't do it, you turn in your band and you go on your way.
Yeah.
Which is the system that I think has worked pretty efficiently at some other races. I think when the band system first rolled out, maybe it wasn't great, but I feel like people kind of understand it now and kind of get the gist of it. I mean, we still have had a couple people, put their band in their pocket or whatever and try to move on, which is just hilarious to me. But for the most part, I think it's pretty effective. And again, a spectator friendly race like this, like it's hard to get something past somebody because we have so many eyes watching you the whole time. But yeah, I think I think that we have it set up. The rigs, we really try to think about what we're doing, and we have multiple people that come out and help out with the setups of the race and the final details. And so we test it out with a lot of different levels
Yeah.
um, before race day.
So, what about the open wave? Do they just run their race kind of deal?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So we don't do prizes for open wave. I mean, you get your race medal if you want to go compare your time to other people's times. I mean, that's something that you can do, but to me, it never really made sense because you never know if people completed obstacles, did burpees, whatever it might have been. So I think at that point, the time is kind of cool to look at, but you really have to compare yourself to yourself more than you can compare yourself to other people when it comes to open wave stuff.
So you got this one coming up in August. And
Mm-hmm.
then what's in the future for you guys? What's coming up next?
Yeah, so we usually have a race in January. This is our first August race. It's going to be hot down here in Florida, which is going to add a whole nother element to it. But people seem to be excited by the challenge. So yeah, so we'll be looking at January. We're going to see how August goes as far as the 2.5K format and the 5K format combined. And then kind of decide how we'll do January. So we'll for sure have the 5K option, and if the 2.5K goes off as good as I think it's going to, and I think it's going to be really popular, then we'll be back, hopefully a different venue in January. So I'd like to switch up the venues between the two events, annually. I think that keeps it interesting too.
So just a nice slow expansion. That's a smart way to do it, aka
Yeah,
Savage.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, that's I love Savage, man. They still have a great vibe.
they
I
do.
think they're doing it awesome.
They really do. Like I'm a fan of all the races. I have a great time at all of them, especially, and I do love the grassroots thing. We have another one up here called North of Seven that has just done their first year, coming up for their second year. And it's got
Yeah,
that grassroots feel. We have a blast with that. I think a lot of people, when they go out to a race like yours or whatever, it, like you say, it reminds them back to the beginning when it
yeah.
was, was so fresh and new, and just everybody out there was having a good time. And
Yeah, I feel like we have that right now for sure, and I don't want to lose that. I want to have the professionalism of like a Spartan race, right, or a High Rocks event, like. But I want it to be like super clean, but I also want it to have the grassroots style, and I think it's if you do it the right way, you can kind of merge the two. So we're gonna keep trying to do that. And like I said, I think Savage does a good job of that. You kind of know what to expect when you come to a Savage race. What we don't want to do is, yeah, like the old school obstacle races where you just had neighborhood obstacles where it's like the handyman built built some obstacles and you're like, I don't even know if I should go on this. So we have that professionalism of a big race, but we have like the community feel, I think, of some of the smaller races, which is pretty cool. And I'd like to maintain that. So
awesome, man. So when's the next date? When's the dates? Plug them out there so that people know where to sign up and how they
yeah.
can come down.
Yeah, so you can sign up at nativexrace.com. The next one, like I said, is in West Palm Beach, and that's August 26th, right, 2023. After that, we'll be looking at late January, so we'll post that date officially as soon as we're finished with the August date.
Just a thought, but this has been kind of the new thing around and has been working for a lot of the other hybrid races. You ever considering doing a relay?
That's funny because I was actually just listening to one of your podcasts before this, and I think you were talking about, was it the R1 or RX1?
RX1, yeah.
RX1, yeah. So it sounded like you were talking about a relay there. Did they have a relay also?
They do have a relay for their all-star event. They have like a team event, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about that again. I've never personally participated in it in a relay race, but for our gym, we have some like in-house gym events that we do relay race stuff, and people do definitely love it. So I think in the future that could be something that we incorporate.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much. I can't wait to get down there. I'm hoping January to make it down for that one.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd survive the heat of August, but maybe January will, and definitely Tony Wade, January.
yeah.
Let's go. We'll throw it down,
All
man.
right, let's do it. So let's
All right.
yeah, free race for you for sure. So come on down.
All right. Thanks so
Thanks
much,
for having
Chris.
us on, man.
And thank you for putting on a great product. And everybody check out NativeX.
I appreciate it.